So what questions do you all still have on case acceptance? It's how I do what I do. What questions? Any question at all?
For larger cases that would split up into different phases, is your terminology or your phrasing be different to patients for accepting treatment? But like an overall cost, like don't be scared by the number. It's in phases. It's not,
Exactly.
Rome wasn't built in a day kind of thing.
So what I have done, different doctors have different philosophies, and I think that you can't just give part of it because I think you owe it to the patient. They need to know the whole investment before they can make an informed decision. But I will print out a treatment plan that shows everything sorted out. This is your total. Like you said, I don't want you to really pay attention to this. We're going to look at the next step first, and then I go through that step. But I give them that and have them sign that because they need to know that they're investing $20,000. Right now, it's going to be $4,800 or $5,700 or whatever it is. So it's the same type of thing. We're still giving them that total cost if insurance factors into that or not. It may not be. And then what they would be responsible for the day of treatment. My office actually collects when we schedule. So we always say we collect this upon scheduling. So you might hear me jump back to that, and I don't mean to. It's just that's what we do. That way we don't have to collect when people come in. So, but it's the same process.
And then one more question about the reason to return or whatever. When you kind of say they need to schedule this because of this decay. In the Hickson office, we don't have a different checkout versus check-in. It's all the same desk in the lobby with everyone. So I didn't know. Do you do that differently with other patients present?
It's just like with everything else. You just have to talk a little lower. If you don't have the ability to have any type of consult room, you would just talk kind of more one-on-one, kind of lowering the voice a little bit at the front office or the person passing off. Because you still have to get the information. You still need to build the value. You know, this is what we did today. This is what they're coming back for and why. And then that person has that. Because if smaller offices, we're still hearing everything. As long as we're not answering the phone going, oh, good afternoon, Mrs. Jerry Jones. You know, we're not like announcing who it is because there's just certain pieces of information we can leave out and people don't know who we're talking about. So yes, I do. It goes on every appointment, every time, because it's part of a system. And if we don't have that in the system, we can't reduce our no-show rate and we can't salvage our short cancels.
Well, I guess it's hard to take a patient to the front of an office and be like, here, they need, or I scheduled the crown for their decay or broken tooth, and when everyone I know is sitting out there in the front, and it's a very small town. I mean, everyone's like, oh, hey, like they're talking about church and the waiting room.
And your crown.
And so it is, and how much of that really goes, how much of that is HIPAA too?
If the office is really small, like you're saying, that's when you're best to do a lot of that chair side. And you can get the treatment plan gone over, you can get the appointment created, everything in the appointment. And then the front office still needs to know is kind of the thing. So it's how can we minimize the exposure? You know, maybe we lean over. I've had team members in the past that wanted to come around the back and like be behind the counter. And I don't like that because then the patient feels like you're ganging up on them. So we just try to stay, and if the patient and the assistant are there with their back to everybody else, the assistant can kind of lean over and talk, and we're keeping it as low as we possibly can. And we've got the treatment plan, so it's like there's some decay. Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, got it. You know, so the patient's aware that we're still talking about the treatment. We just don't want to announce it to everybody and put a sign up or anything. But something like that is just kind of, is there an opportunity that we can make this easier for the patient? Chair side is ideal at that point.
We also have messenger we could do, like they could message and say, hey, I'm bringing up so-and-so. That would keep it more confidential. No names would have to be discussed.
But a lot of it's just reinforcing it with that.
Yeah, it's reinforcing it with the patient because you're building that value. They're remembering why they're coming in. Yes?
I'm curious about how, and if our current practice needs to change or modify from your perspective in the fact that, yes, in the back, when the treatment plan is being presented and they're signing, they are signing that it's being presented to them that I presented this treatment. When and how do you transition to the commitment part and it seems like that line is a little bit of an opportunity for the person presenting the treatment to cop out a little bit on.
The commitment needs to come before we start talking about money. Money is the last thing we talk about, which if you're doing it chairside, you're talking about money. I mean, that's you may not be collecting it back there all the time, but you're still talking about money. So you're building value, all of the questions about the treatment, everything needs to be done, and that commitment, are you ready to move forward with this? Great, let me go over your investment with you. So it always comes before the money, but it's usually awkward to do because money conversations in general, how many of you feel they're awkward to have? Okay, they are. But a lot of our hesitancy and a lot of the awkwardness that comes with the money conversation comes from our past. And so we're pulling that forward and we're biasing what we do with the patient. I've seen excellent treatment coordinators that when it comes to the money part, they're going through it and then they're going, you don't want to schedule, do you? And it's like, wait a minute, why don't you want them to schedule? But they have a bad past relationship with money. They can present the treatment, they can do all that, but when it comes down to the money, so we try to do everything else first, get the commitment, get the patient on board, get the 3 yeses, get everything we need so that we can then talk about the money. And if it's awkward, for those of you that raised your hand, I highly recommend you get with someone who it's not awkward for, and you guys role play the heck out of it. Because the more you do it, even though you make mistakes when you role play, you might be like, oh God, no, wait a minute, I don't want to say that. Let me start over. That's okay, because the more you practice it, when it happens in real life, your brain is like, we've already done this. I've already heard this objection. I've already heard that. We've already overcome this. We got this. So you're able to move forward. If it's the first time you're tripping over yourself, you're like, oh, I don't know how to say this. But you have to learn. So remember when you first started in dentistry, or you first went to hygiene school, or you first came in here, first went to dental school, you didn't know what you were doing. You didn't go to school knowing how to do your job. So you have to learn, and the money conversation can be very awkward. I had a horrible time asking people. I was placed when I started in my first office, my job was to call past due accounts. So I didn't know these people, and I was trying to collect money, and it was horrible. I hated it. But then one day I finally realized, I said, you know what? This is what I'm getting paid to do. This is my job. And so my job is to collect for the doctor the work that they did, the money that they should receive for that, because the patient agreed to it. And once I realized it wasn't about me, it wasn't about, is the patient going to be mad at me? Am I saying this right? It became very easy, and I haven't had a problem since. Because it's not about you, it's about your past experience that you're bringing forward. And that has to be overcome before money conversations become easy. Some people are better at it in offices than others, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If somebody is strong, let them do it. You can always learn, but if it's that uncomfortable, I'm sure you have other strengths that you bring and that you can be more beneficial. Everyone should know how to have the conversation. It doesn't mean that everyone should have the conversation. You really want to give it to the people who are just able to build that value and build that trust quickly and be able, because you don't want to spend a lot of time. Not saying you don't want to spend time with your patients, but the more efficient you can be, the better it is for the practice. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? Speak now. Yes?
I think I have I don't know if this is like a question or just a
Okay.
statement that I have. I think I struggle with the rescheduling, that I love the idea of having the reason, the condition. on
To
the
save it.
Yeah, so that we can, have more of an idea of how urgent this might seem or things like that.
But I think that was something I would practice with as well, that conversation of how important is this to you, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and things like that, and to know, like, maybe even for hygiene, if they're canceling a hygiene appointment, I know how important a hygiene appointment is, but I don't know the verbiage of using.
Well, for that individual patient, what's important?
Yeah.
Was there pocketing on the lower right that the hygienist wanted to check this time? Did their flossing improve exponentially, and they want to make sure they're still practicing great home care and taking great care of their bone and gums? There's always a reason to return. It's not cleaning, it's not checking for cavities, it's why are they coming back for this patient? And so we'll kind of talk about that a little bit when we go into like the new patient intake type thing. I just want to make sure that nobody has any more questions, any more gray area, or anything that they've thought of about case acceptance that might be an opportunity to discuss. Yes?
And I think some of your questions that you were teaching us to use will help to this, but I think the main thing we battle are patients that have given up their autonomy over their own body to the insurance company. And so they have defaulted to only what insurance will cover, and rather than taking control of their life, really.
Mm-hmm.
So can you speak to some empowering questions or ways to help patients realize what they're doing to give all that power away?
Absolutely. There's a lot more to the question than just the question, okay? Because in this instance, as long as you're in network, you're always going to have those kind of people. You can't question it out of everybody. Okay, does that make sense?
Don't try to change them.
Well, some you can. Some you absolutely can, but some are insurance driven, right? That it doesn't matter, they're insurance driven. So what that leads to is, who is your ideal patient? Who is the patient that you are marketing to, that you are trying to get in your doors, that you want to come see you? Each of your 3 offices are going to have a different ideal patient. Okay? So knowing who that ideal patient is, sitting down as a team and identifying that ideal patient helps you to determine, when you get this question from the patient, well, does my insurance cover that? Well, why are we doing it if my insurance doesn't pay for it? It helps you to identify, is this an insurance-driven patient, or is this one of our ideal patients that we need to educate further? Some of the things I use when I talk to patients about insurance is, number one, that we're not going to let your insurance have a seat at the table anymore. We don't believe that your best interest comes from a building in Michigan where people that don't know you work. That just doesn't work for us. Why do we not need to focus on just the insurance? Because the doctor knows you. He has decided you and him together decided what's the best treatment for you. Your insurance or your employer plan, or what they purchased if they're self-funded or if they're an individual plan, there's a lot of limitations in there because they were trying to get the costs down. So it may not be covered, but that doesn't mean you don't need it. That doesn't mean it's not a benefit or a value to you. I looked up Never Ever State. There's a ruling that came down, and it's called the Never Ever Rule with insurance. This is just kind of a side for any of you nerds that are interested in some insurance ruling, like myself. If in the state of Tennessee, and I'd have to check for Georgia because I didn't look at that one. In the state of Tennessee, if a patient is covered with insurance and the insurance does not pay it because of a limitation or age or max or any of those other contractual limitations, you are still required to charge your contractual fee if you're in network with that insurance, okay? If it is never ever covered, you are allowed to charge your regular fee. So for example, if I came in and I had a Delta preventative policy only, and you were doing a crown on me, you could charge your full fee because that crown is never ever covered on that policy. If implants are they're not covered, it's 0%. They do not allow you to have them. You can charge your regular implant fee.
Yeah.
So patients need to know this, that the limitations of their plan are not because the insurance is trying to do what's best for the patient. They're doing it, it's a money thing. They're doing it to reduce the price. 35 years and the insurance limits haven't changed. Well, they haven't changed because 47% of people who have dental insurance never even use it. So why would they change the maximums? Out of the what would that be, 53%? 53% that use it, 7% max it. Those 7% come to my office, I'm going to tell you right now, because all of our patients max their insurance. But that's why they don't change the amount every year, because only 7% maximize it.
What you said with the insurance contract thing, so you said age requirements, are like, so like fluoride, for instance?
It's an age limitation. It's covered on the policy, but it's not payable due to an age limitation.
So we have to charge the in-contract fee?
The contracted
not our
amount.
fee.
Now, there are contracts that will override that. Typically, you can follow your EOB because it will tell you. But for example, in Iowa, there are 2 or 3 contracts in one office that if it is not covered, it's in the contract that fluoride, if you're over, I think it's 18 on that policy, if you're over that and you get fluoride, that you're charged at the regular rate, the then current office rate. So the EOB comes back and says we can charge the regular rate. But typically, because it is covered but not payable due to an age limitation, you would still charge the contracted rate. Another would be like you were talking about the core buildups. Are they never ever covered, or are they just denying them due to other reasons? Due to insufficient information, that type of thing. That determines if you charge or not charge on those kind of things. But to answer your question, kind of a long way around, I let patients know that the insurance does not have their best interest in mind. They are a business to make money. And whatever limitations are in their individual policy, their employer or their broker sold them in order to reduce the price. When you have this kind of conversation, it's very important. You need to ask a yes question at the end. You ask the patient, whether it's you talking to them or a team member talking to a patient, doesn't it make sense that you and the doctor, or if you're talking that you and I are the ones that decide what's best for your treatment needs? And then you wait. If they answer it no, they're probably not your ideal patient, right? If you answer it no out loud, it kind of sounds funny. Well, no, I don't think it's best that you and I decide that. So it's a yes question. When they say yes, I agree with that, now they're committed. They will move forward 9 times out of 10, even if insurance doesn't cover it. Because they agree that you and them should be making their treatment decisions, not an insurance company that's never met them and doesn't know who they are. But they don't understand that the insurance isn't doing it for their best interest. And insurances will try to oversee that every time the patient calls. They'll say, oh, your office filed that wrong. No, we didn't. We didn't file anything wrong. They want you to recode things. Oh, well, it'd be covered if it was coded this way. No, that's illegal. But so they try to get the patient to believe, we care about you. We're trying to help you out. And it's just because they don't know any better. They're minimum wage employees that don't know any better, unfortunately. Does that answer that question? Does that help? Okay.
That's great.
Any other questions? Treatment planning, case acceptance?
Do we know if they have Botox?
I'm sorry?
Do we know if dental insurance will cover Botox at all?
Typically not. It's not a covered benefit.
Either TMJ or anything like that?
That would, if they have a TMJ policy, potentially.
Okay.
If you want to know, you get the code. Is there a dental code for that? Is there a dental code for Botox? For TMJ? If there's a code for that, you would want that verified when you verify the insurance. Some policies do have a separate TMJ rider on them. So you could check that. The other thing is that medical may cover some of it. So it would be a matter of you could bill to medical. If you don't do that, you could check with your billing company or find a billing company that does bill to medical. That's becoming kind of for everybody to do now because there's so many of your procedures daily that could be billed to medical and be covered. So.
There's a lot more policies though now. I was talking on the table about it yesterday that have this 7800 or D7800, which is a TMJ code.
Mm-hmm.
They have a TMJ separate max.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's, I've seen probably 5 this year already,
I see it a lot on Delta. Delta offers it a lot.
but I didn't used to see them.
Exactly. Exactly. So if that's the case, add your code to your breakdowns, and then you'll be able to see whatever that Botox code is. Now, it would have to be for TMJ, obviously, but if you have that code and you can verify it, you can find out if it's covered or not. And then that way you can present that to the patient as well. Anything else? No? Okay. So the next part of this is talking about how we, just talking to patients, things we say to patients, upping our customer service through how we talk to them. There's a lot of psychology in this, so please bear with me. I have a form, and I'm gonna have you take one and pass it around. This is a new patient intake form, okay? This is what has been developed and designed over years and years of trial and error in offices. I saw the form that you guys use. It's smaller. It's like name and all that information, basically, right? Correct? Okay. Whether you're talking to a new patient or an existing patient, but primarily a new patient, the first opportunity you have to make that first impression is on that phone call, right? That's where you get to know your patient, you build that rapport, you share with them why they should come see you, and you get all the information that you can so when that patient comes in, you know who you're dealing with. How long do your new patient calls take on average? I'm sorry?
It feels like 20 to 30 minutes
To me, but that could be very inaccurate.
I was like, wow, I love it.
It feels like it's the most. Maybe I went to
5 to 10 on average? Okay.
Maybe if it's a family.
Yeah, we had a family of 6 on Monday, 6. And they scheduled on all different days. I'm not kidding. And then
Well,
we
that's
had
better than them all
changes.
scheduling at the same time and then someone getting sick and not
I
coming.
know, and that's happened with like a 4-person, 3-person family before, so we don't do that.
Okay. So when a new patient calls your office, do we have enough? Okay. When a new patient calls your office, they're trying to learn about you. They're trying to decide, do they want to come see you? They're not price shopping. How many of you get price shopping calls? Okay. When was the last time you had an afternoon before you went to work that you decided you were just going to start calling around and seeing how much something was? Anybody? I haven't done it in a while myself, but.
I mean, if it's for a car, you're definitely gonna be looking for cheaper things.
But you don't call and say, yeah, I'm looking for a Toyota 4Runner. Tell me how much do you charge?
Yeah.
You go, and they want you to go, right? Because they build the value for that car you're looking at. What can we do to keep your business here? How can I get you in this car today, right? So when patients call, they don't have time to kill. That's not why they're calling. They're calling because they have a need. And either you were next in the phone book, or you were referred to them, or they saw your website or your Facebook page, and they want you to help them. When we take a new patient call, we cannot take it at face value. We can't take what the patient said and think that that's what they're really asking. We have to do some detective work. We just have to know, okay? When you get patients that call, how many of you have patients that ask things like, are you taking new patients?
That's almost every.
Isn't that the silliest question if you're in a dental office? But there's a reason for that. Okay, there's a reason they ask that. The how much is, do you guys get that a lot? And do you take? Are those your top 3? Okay. Are you guys open on Fridays? Normally?
In February, we will be.
Okay. So do you ever get people asking if you're open on the weekends? Do you have Saturday hours?
I'm off on Sunday. What time do you have on Sunday? Yeah. Seriously?
Family time. That's all the time I have on Sunday. So,
I'm available at 7 on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
we'll see you Monday morning.
at 10. So if we look at this sheet, this is the same information that you guys typically would ask. And this is important for everybody, hygienists, assistants, and front office, because you might be the one to pick up the phone, okay? And if it's a new patient call, we see your shoulders drop and you're like, and we're like, oh, they got a new patient call on their way to the operatory. But you have to be able to know what you're asking and where you can stop this call, okay? And you also want to know, from the clinical standpoint, what is the front selling to this patient that you're going to have to fulfill when they come in, okay? This is definitely a team sport when we talk about talking to patients and taking these phone calls. The phone rings and we answer the phone. Everybody answers it a little bit differently. All I ask is that you keep some consistency. You don't?
We all answer the same.
Okay, well that's good. Some people might throw in a good morning or a good afternoon. I quit doing that because it'd be 12:01 and somebody would say, oh, you said good morning. Is it still morning? And I was like, enough, I can't do this anymore. So now it's just thank you for calling. Somebody may say, how may I help you? How may I assist you? That's not important to me. It's just be consistent. Make sure that everybody's kind of saying the same thing. Give your name and the place they're calling. That's the biggest thing. Everybody that calls is going to ask, whether they're new or not, they're going to be asking a question or making a statement. Kind of vague, isn't it? Usually a question. I want to pay my bill. How much do I owe you, or can I pay my bill? When is my next appointment, if they've been here before, right? Or I'd like to make an appointment, or how much is, do you take, that kind of thing. We have what's called transition statements, and you guys will want to write this down. Transition statements allow you to take control of the call, and there's two that I use, and they work in every situation. I haven't come across a situation yet. The first transition statement when someone asks a question is, I'd be happy to help you with that. May I get some additional information to better assist you?
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that, please?
I'd be happy to help you with that. May I get some additional information to better assist you? That's the first one. The second one, along the same lines, just in case of a different question, that's a great question. I'd be happy to take care of that for you. May I get some more information so that I can better assist you? We have to know who we're talking to. Whenever a patient calls and you're on the phone with them, whoever is asking the questions is controlling the call. You must control the call. Otherwise, it can go off the rails really quick. People go off on tangents, or they ask a bunch of questions and you answer them and then they hang up and you don't know who you were talking to. So you must control the call.
Could you repeat the second, please?
That's a great question. I'd be happy to help you with that, or I'd be happy to answer that for you. May I get some additional information so I can better assist you? So what I've done with these two statements, when somebody calls, no matter what they ask me, I'm telling them, I heard you, and I'm gonna take care of that for you, but I need some information from you first. So I've basically taken their question and I've set it right over here on this little shelf, and I'm gonna come back to your question, but I need to get some information first. When we ask patients for information, it's an exchange. If they feel you need it, they'll give it to you. If they don't think you do, or they don't know why, they won't give it to you. So most of the time when you say that, when you use a transition statement, people are going to say, sure, or okay, or yeah, that's fine. 9 times out of 10. We'll come back to that 1% in a minute. First thing we ask is, may I have your name? I don't care if you say, may I have your name? Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? May I know who I'm speaking with? It doesn't matter to me. Just may I have your name? It's whatever feels good for you. If it doesn't feel authentic, it doesn't come across as authentic. Okay, so it's whatever feels good. I personally say, most of the time, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? But then there's times when I say, may I have your name, please? just depends on the situation. They give you their name. Immediately you need to thank them for calling. Okay, so I answer the phone. I get their question. I give them my transition statement. May I have your name? Sue. Sue, thank you so much for giving us a call. If at this point, especially the new people, you don't know if they're existing or new yet, right? A lot of the older seasoned people will know that, oh, it's Sue, I know who she is. But when we don't know, we have to find out, and we come back to that judging. People don't want to be judged and sorted, which is why they ask, are you accepting new patients? Because you'll call a doctor's office and you'll give them all your information, because they'll say, what insurance do you have, as soon as you say, I want to make an appointment. And then you go through all that, and then they say, when were you here last, or how long has it been since you've been in? I'm new. Oh, we're not accepting new patients. And they hang up. So people don't like that. They don't want to be judged. So that's why they ask that question. So you get their name. Thank you for calling. If I called, gosh, I saw a bunch of offices around you. Say I called 5 offices around you. How many are going to thank me for calling? 1. I called 6. 1 thanked me. I didn't call here. I called 6 around. So right there, the bar is set pretty low, isn't it? You can really impress somebody by just saying, wow, Sue, thank you so much for giving us a call. We appreciate it. If I'm an existing patient, I'm like, oh, you're welcome. Makes people feel good. You know, you thanked me. I like that. So now we need to know if they're new or not. We don't want to judge and sort. So when was the last time we saw you in our office? I'm not asking them, have they been here before? Again, that open-ended question. When was the last time we saw you in our office? Oh, I was there 3 months ago. Great. Or, oh, I'm new. Bless you. I'm new. Even better. We appreciate you taking your time to call us. We love new patients. But this is where you're going to decide, are they new or are they existing? So this greeting and transition statement works with any people. They don't have to be new. They don't have to be existing. It works with everybody. If they are existing, now you can take that moment, which we tend to not always do. I'm not saying you don't. I know that I used to not do it. We can pull the patient up and say, great, let me get some information verified real quick. I always ask for their phone number. I always ask if they're still at their same address, and I always ask if their email and insurance are still the same. Because believe it or not, when people move or change phone numbers, you guys are not the first ones they call. Okay? So we need to make sure, because there's nothing worse than trying to reach someone for an appointment and that phone number doesn't work anymore. I don't know if you guys have caller ID, but I don't rely on caller ID because it's not always accurate. So, Sue, great. Let me just verify some information on your account real quick. So the best number to reach you is blah, blah, blah. You're still at 123 Tooth Street. Email is still iliketosmile.com, and you still have Delta through Publix. If any of that changed, now's my opportunity to update it. Okay, and then I can go into what that patient needs. If they're new, when was the last time we saw you? Oh, I'm new. I've never been there before. Oh my gosh, we love new patients. I'm going to take great care of you today. I've just reassured them they're going to have excellent service today. I'm going to take great care of you today. So now as a patient, I know I've called the right place. They're going to take great care of me. She told me so. I know she will. And it makes people feel good. It gives them a reason to stay on the phone with you. So now we need to get their phone number. So Sue, what is the best callback number for you? I could stop there and Sue might say, well, let me give you my home number. She needs to know why I need that number. How many of us hate to give out information because it might be sold or used otherwise? Right? We're always hesitant about it. Sue, what's a good callback number in case we get disconnected? We get the number. We repeat it back. Please repeat it back. Thank you for that information. And one last real quick question. How did you hear about our office? How did you find our office? Again, it doesn't matter the word you say. But how did they find you? When do you guys track how people found you? Is it in the exam? Does the doctor ask or the hygienist ask, or is it on the paperwork and you track it from there? Or?
It used to be in your new patient packet.
It
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Still there.
So we look at the new patient paperwork.
And when we schedule them, I think we do, we try to.
And we have a new patient tracker where we're entering.
Entering all their good, okay, good. So at this point, when the patient gave me their name, I don't need to know their last name, right? Because we're just having a conversation. I got their first name. How did you find me? Google. I'm not going to start in with, well, what were you Googling? What were you trying to find? Google's good. It's not a referral source, but I can work with that for right now. Okay, that's good enough to get my information down and get started talking to the patient. So we've gone through 15, maybe 25 seconds, and I heard what the patient said, but now I've got a lot of information about the patient. The patient may have just been a price shopper, but I got a lot of information about them, so I can always reach back out if I need to. Now you're going to get that 1% that says, well, I really just want to know how much a crown is. I love those people because I have a lot of fun with it. I do. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I was just going to ask you your name, but I'll just call you Hey You. So Hey You, and then I go on into and they're like, my name's Steve. Well, Steve, thank you so much for giving us a call. Most people will give it to you, but they don't know why you need it. So I just have fun with it because life's too short not to. And it makes them feel better. It's, they don't realize I'm not going to be, it's not an inquisition. So many offices you call and it's like, can I get your first name and your last name and your email address and your phone number? And what insurance do you have? And your mailing address. I hang up because that's all about them. They don't care about me. It's all about what they need. And they don't need that information to answer my question. They don't need to know where I live. They're not going to mail me anything. But that's what they've been asking for years. So we want to get the basics to be able to have a conversation. This is conversational. It's not transactional. We're not at the drive-through getting information and just firing off questions back and forth. But you do want to maintain the question control so that you can maintain control of the call. Okay? So it sounds something like, thank you for calling Princell Dentistry. This is Dana. How may I assist you today? I'd like to make an appointment. I would be more than happy to help you with that. Can I get a little bit of information to better assist you? Sure. Great. Can I get your name? Joe. Well, Joe, thank you for giving us a call. When was the last time we saw you, Joe? Oh, I've been there 3 weeks ago. Great, Joe. Well, let me get you pulled up real quick. And then I might ask him for his last name. Last name, can you confirm date of birth? I'm a new patient. Oh my gosh, we love new patients, Joe. Can I get a good callback number in case we're disconnected? I read the number back. And Joe, real quick before I take care of your appointment, how did you find out about us? How did you hear about our office? Google. Great. Well, thank you for that information. It took me 20 seconds, but I have a lot of information about my patient now, and we've started building rapport. Okay? If you pick up the phone mistakenly, or you're on your way to see a patient, or the phone was ringing and you grabbed it, this is the information that you should have gotten through before you put that call on hold. Okay? If somebody calls and says, yes, I needed to make an appointment, can I ask you to hold, please? Right then and there, you've lost them. Especially if they're new. It's like, well, I guess I'm so important that they just have so many appointments. So you have to get that information filled out. I highly recommend this page or something, whatever you're going to use. I like mine because it's got little check boxes next to everything. Did we follow the system? This is printed out on highlighted colored paper, like bright pink, bright yellow, bright blue, bright green. Why do I do that? Easy to see, to grab, right? Everywhere there's a phone, there should be these. But also, how many times have you been up at the front and you're on the phone with a new patient and someone comes up and... Because they don't know, right? You're just on the phone. I mean, it's what we do. If this is colored in front of somebody, the only reason you interrupt them is if they can't get out before the building burns down. Because they're on a new patient call. If we can survive without them, leave the bubble. So you get this information. If you are not going to finish the call, you're not going to start building rapport with your patient, now is the time you would put them on hold. So Steve, I understand you want to make a new patient appointment, and I am going to ask if I may place you on a brief hold, and I'm going to get you to whoever does it. In my office, we say to our new patient coordinator, Karen, and Karen, isn't that awful that her name's Karen? Karen? I just realized that. And she's going to take great care of you and get you scheduled. Is that okay with you? May I put you on hold? So I put them on hold. They take this sheet and they go to Karen. I have this, Joe's on the phone, he's a new patient, and he's waiting to make an appointment. So then when they pick up the phone, hi Joe, this is Karen. I understand you want to make an appointment. I'm happy to help you with that. Instead of, this is Karen, how can I help you? Okay, because we tend to do that. We don't know why they're on hold. So the question comes up, well, how do we, if they're a new patient, we put them on hold. What if we didn't know they were new? When we answered the phone, we were busy, so we put them on hold, right? Do you guys do that when the phone rings and you're, the front office, where are we at? Okay. Phone rings, you're either on the other line or you're checking someone in, checking someone out, you're putting treatment in, whatever you're doing. How many times do you answer the phone, thank you for calling, may I place you on a brief hold? Perfect. Okay. Please don't ever do that, because if you're too busy to talk, you're too busy to answer the phone. Mm-hmm.
And the person, more often than not, the patient, like if you say, "I'm so sorry, I'll be right back with you," they'll be like, "Oh, don't worry, that's your job." They're almost always understanding about it.
Yeah.
They're always like, "You're taking care of a patient that is there too." Like, you know what I mean? They respect that, I think.
Exactly.
They value that.
So I would rather it go to voicemail. My voicemail has an expectation on it. We will return your call within the hour, because that's our expectation. And so when I call to check voicemails, my team knows if I see that somebody's voicemail's been there and it's more than an hour, somebody's going to get a phone call from me, because we have to call those patients back. We told them we were going to. Why would we start off by not being honest with them to begin with, not doing what we said we were going to do? So if you're going to put the call on hold, that's where you do it. Okay? The next step in this call is starting to build rapport. If you have to place a patient on hold in the middle of building rapport, you will never get rapport back. It's gone forever. You have one chance. Okay? So if you can't continue from this point through the next step, put them on hold and get them to someone who can. Okay? So the next step of this is where we're going to get to know our caller. I really like a sheet like this. I know a lot of people say, well, we put the information in to the computer as we're talking to the patient on the phone. Do you guys do that, or do you write it down? Okay.
Yeah, it depends.
Okay. What do? You enter it on the computer? Okay. Not judging, okay?
I try.
It's,
I've done that, and I've done both.
I just enter it as I've got them on the phone, so that way it's everything.
Mhm.
And it's memorized. I can enter my own phone.
Yeah.
Hey, but no, I just
Yeah.
enter it.
And it's less, one less step.
I'm so visual about it, to get that in there and like you said,
Yeah.
I don't know that it's interfere that I'm gonna forget something, but if I can go down that,
mm-hmm.
and then I can make the conversation flow along with this information.
Okay.
Okay, great. Now, what's the name of your employer? You said your insurance was through your,
Mm-hmm.
there.
Because it's right there, it's asking you for it. Okay.
Yeah, and I have my card right here. Great, you have your card? What is the subscriber ID right now?
Okay.
And you can, I feel comfortable doing it.
Okay.
Honestly, I feel like if I follow the sheet, it makes me feel like I'm a recording.
Well, of course, because you don't do it. That's not how you do it, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like if I can be myself and interact with the patient over the phone, it gives off a better.
So let me tell you why people recommend you write things down instead of, and I'm one of these people because I've done it both ways. When you are on the phone and you're asking a question and you're getting an answer and you're typing, your brain cannot 100% listen to what the person is saying. It's impossible. Because there's a portion of your brain that's telling your fingers what to type. And we all type well, we all, can do this, but we cannot listen 100%. If you write something, you can hear it as you're writing it, and you can remember it, and your brain listens 100%. I'm not here to tell you what to do or not to do, okay? I recommend it's written down because this sheet has dual purpose in my office. This sheet then goes to the person who is going to be seeing the patient for the first time that morning. So we like the information on it, and I take all the notes and everything. But just keep that in mind. If you're typing, not only can the patient sometimes hear the tick, 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 which is annoying, but it happens, but you also, you're not hearing everything 100%, and you have to be engaged when you're building rapport, when you're talking to the patients. So regardless of what you do, this is where we're going to take this question here, and we're going to bring it back and bring it here, and we're going to put it into play. So I've gotten all of my patient information that I need for right now, and then I say, so Joe, when you called, and I reiterate why he called. You asked if we took your insurance, or you asked if you could make an appointment, or you said you needed to find, do we do a certain procedure? Can you share with me a little bit more about that? Or can you share with me what would be bringing you in? If somebody calls and says, I want to make an appointment, can you share with me what would be bringing you in? Because I don't know why they want to come in, and I can't make an assumption that they're coming in for a cleaning. Okay? If they want to know about insurance, I want to know why they're coming in before I talk to them about their insurance, because insurance works differently for different types of procedures, correct? And there's maximums involved, and they don't know that. So you asked if we took your insurance. Can you share with me why you would be coming in? What would be bringing you into our office? At this point, the patient is going to start telling you their story. It may be 2 sentences, or it could start back when they were 6 years old. Okay? It happens. We've all been through it. I write everything down on here because it may not be important to me, but when I give this sheet to my hygienist and she's looking over it before the patient comes in, she might be glad there's information on there that she can utilize in her conversation with Joe. Maybe Joe fell off his bike when he was 6 years old and broke his front teeth, and maybe her son did the same thing. So now she already has a connection with him because I wrote that down. He's coming in to have his front teeth looked at because they're turning gray. When he was 6 years old, he fell off his bicycle, the whole story. So if we need clarity, we ask for it. So I want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're asking. This is where they're going to start telling you what you can take and make their appointment and start to build that value, but we can't lead them in any way, shape, or form, or else you're not going to get the true information. Do you guys have emergency calls? Patients call and say, I was wondering if you had an appointment today. Okay? In my office, the call used to go something like this. Can you tell me what's going on? Well, my tooth, it's hurting really bad. How long has it been hurting? And they would say, oh, it just started this morning. Is it on the top or the bottom? Is it the front or the back? We start asking all these questions again. We're becoming transactional. They answer those questions based on what they think you want to hear to get an appointment today. I can't stand when a patient tells me something on the phone and they come in and sit in front of the doctor and tell them something different. But it's because they wanted the appointment when they wanted it, and they were afraid if they told me, I wouldn't give them the appointment that they desired. So we have to know what they're saying. When patients call and say, do you take my insurance? What are they asking you?
How much money they're going to spend.
Okay. What else?
Can I come here?
Who said that? You? Yes, exactly. Can I come to your office? I want to maximize my insurance. Can I come to you and use it? I don't know anything about it. That's what they're asking. But they've been told by their HR department, you need to ask if they take your insurance because you want to go to an in-network provider because you're going to get free cleanings. But truly, they do tell them that. I've sat in on a lot of benefit meetings for larger companies, and they bring them in groups. They like herd them in like cattle and say, okay, we're going to talk about your new benefit year, and dental gets about 30 seconds. And they say you've got a maximum. You want to go to an in-network doctor, and you'll get 2 free cleanings and free x-rays, and your exams are free, and if there's a deductible, they'll collect it, and then the insurance pays a portion of all the work you need. That's what they tell them. Well, no wonder they don't know what they're talking about, right? Because they were given wrong information. Then they get a booklet in the mail. They don't even take it out of the envelope. It just goes in the bottom drawer of the nightstand, and it sits there for 5 years until they clean house. And they're like, oh, I don't need this. It's from 2020. So we have to understand this. So when they call and say, do you take my insurance? They're not saying, are you in network with my insurance, and am I going to be able to maximize my benefits, and are you going to collect my deductible? What they're saying is, can I come to you? Can I use my insurance in your office? I need you. I need help. So if we understand that, we can answer the question correctly, right? At this point, when we're addressing their question, we have to build value. If somebody calls and says, do you take my insurance? 9 times out of 10, we want to say right away, what insurance do you have? As a front office person, that's how we're trained years ago, and it's ingrained, and that's what we do, okay? But it matters what they're getting done, and I don't want them to think it's all about insurance. If I call a doctor's office and say, I need to make an appointment, and they say, what insurance do you have? I say, no, thank you, and I hang up, because they don't care about me. They just care about my insurance. And you don't want your patients to feel that way, because you don't care about the insurance, you care about the patient, right? So we have to be able to answer the question, but we also have to be able to build value. So if somebody calls your office and they say, do you take my insurance? And you get their name and their phone number and all that, then how do you answer that question?
Do you take my insurance?
Yeah, somebody says, I want to know if you take my insurance.
Find out what the insurance is and let them know if we are a participating provider or not.
Okay. What do you not take? Medicaid? Okay. I have Medicaid. It's everybody's favorite question, I know.
Those are the most shopper calls we get.
Okay.
Not how much is a crown, you take 10 care.
10 care, oh, that's right. I forgot about 10 care here, yeah.
And you want to know what, they don't want to stay on the phone and listen about their,
No.
They can still come in and we'll be glad to help you and take a look. They want to know if
Some of them don't even say
they
goodbye.
can use their benefits at your office. Period.
Yeah. So if you have an area that's very heavy state aid and you don't take state aid, you do have to tweak this a little bit if you don't feel you can convert patients. Every state aid is different, okay? In Indiana, you can have Medicaid or Medicare, Medicaid for kids, Medicaid for some adults. You can have Medicaid and still go to a doctor's office and pay for your treatment, for your dental treatment. Some states you can't do that. If you have state aid, you have to go to a state aid provider, or else they'll take their state aid away, okay? And that may be how it is here. In Indiana, it's not that way. So in Indiana, we have a lot of patients in my office that come to us and pay cash because of the way we treat them. We don't take the state aid, so they don't even use it. But there's not a whole lot of offices that do take it. So these people are willing to forego their nails and their phones, and they'll come in and get their crown or their SRP or their perio maintenance or whatever it is they need, and they pay regular fees for it. So we're not in a heavy area, but if you're in a heavy area, you have to tweak this a little bit because you don't want to be on the phone with every single person that has TennCare from the get-go and go through all the information if you can't help them. There's no reason for it, okay? Other than you're getting their information, and if they ever come off TennCare, they're going to remember you, that you were kind to them, you didn't judge them because they had the Medicaid, but you still want to kind of tweak this. So that's a different conversation. If they ask, do you take my insurance? and you do, you need to know what they're coming in for. And then you need to explain to them how their insurance, it's theirs, right? It's not your insurance, how their insurance works in your office. It's very important when we talk with patients on the phone, in person, no matter where we are, that we're not using any negative words. And what do I mean by that?
They don't cover.
Yep, can't, won't, don't have, can't do, no. Do what? Yeah, it's against policy. I can't do that. The human brain is wired such that when you say a negative, it doesn't matter what follows it. The human brain doesn't listen anymore. So if you say, we don't take that, but, like we have a membership plan, they're not hearing that. All they heard is you don't take it. And they're done with the conversation. You can't build value after the negative. So this is the hardest part. How can you answer these questions without no, without we don't take, we don't use, we don't have? It's difficult because we have to really think about what we're saying because we don't want to be negative. So it's a challenge at times. There's times I have to just sit and take a moment when I'm on the phone and I don't say anything because I'm thinking, how do I say this without saying a negative? On occasion, there are 1 or 2 occasions where I will use a no, but it's very rare. But if somebody calls and says, for example, I want to know if you take my insurance. And it's an insurance that we're not contracted with, but we do accept. We'll see the patient. We'll accept assignment of benefits. That's a great question. I'd be happy to answer that for you. Can I get some more information? Can you share with me what would be bringing you in? Oh, I need to come in. My family and I just moved here, and we need to get established at our new dentist, and this is the insurance that my office offers. So before I go back to the insurance now, they gave me some more information, right? They just moved here. I want to build rapport with them. Oh, where'd you move from? We moved from Colorado. Ooh, big change. I'm in Florida, so ooh, big change. What brought that? Was it work or family? Oh, it was family. We got tons of family down here. Oh my gosh, where's your family at down here? Because now we're connecting. I live here. You've just moved here. And I want to know where your family is because I'm going to tell you something great to do or some restaurant. You know, my gosh, you guys are here in Venice. Have you guys been to Sharky's? You've got to go to Sharky's. Kids will love it. And they're like, oh my gosh, we got to go. So you have to start trying to find, usually within 3 questions, you'll find a connection. Okay? It's the hardest thing to do, but it's very important. So I still haven't answered their question, right? But I've interacted with the patient a little bit. So Joe, back to your question. You wondered if we took your insurance. Let me explain how your insurance works in our office. Okay, this is a time when I'm going to use a negative, but not in the negative sense. Our doctor made the tough decision to not be contracted with your insurance because he feels that you and he should be the ones that make the decisions on your health care. That's important, don't you think? And they're going to say, yeah, that's important. That being said, we take care of your insurance like any other office. We file for your reimbursement. We will take care of everything, any appeals, any information they need, and we'll collect from you at the time of service. How does that sound? So now I've done my check-in. How does that sound? He's either going to say, sounds good, or I have a question, right? And then we're back to the question, objection, because I can't move him to an appointment unless he doesn't have any more objections. So if you don't take state aid, for example, oh, I have TennCare. Let me explain how your insurance works in our office. Your insurance has chosen to not provide you any benefit in our office. So if you would come to see us, it is all out of pocket for you with no benefit from your insurance. How does that sound? And they're going to be like, oh, I need to go to a provider. I completely understand that. If you don't take it, do you know somebody who does? You take it? We take it. Send them over here. Send them over here. Is it one of your offices takes it? Oh, no? Okay.
We actually have an office downtown that specifically takes in.
So it's always really helpful if you can send them to somebody who does. They're not your competition, they're your colleagues.
Georgia, the closest one is Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a ways away, isn't it?
It's an hour and 40 minutes from
Yeah.
the Trenton office.
Now, for Georgia state aid, can they go anywhere and get treatment if they're willing to pay for it?
I think so.
See, so you could convert a lot of people right there because they don't want to drive it. They don't want to drive an hour 40 minutes to get, yeah.
We have converted some, especially with the dental savings plan, but there's some that'll say, well, I'm going to Rome then and hang up the phone.
Awesome. Awesome. But see, that patient's insurance driven and probably not your ideal patient, right? The ones that convert, they're your ideal patient. And they're probably not going to be on TennCare forever or Georgia state aid forever. So if the nicer you are to these people now, the more they remember you, or they have family members or friends who are not on state aid, or whatever it is, they're going to remember how well you treated them. Because remember, we're not judging, right? Circumstances happen. People get on state aid. It happens. Doesn't mean it's a lifetime decision. So, how do you guys handle the how much is question? Do you guys quote fees? No?
If they push and push and push and but we tell them, how do we say it? That we want them, that our doctors, we don't know exactly what they need, and they need to spend time with one of our doctors to get clarity on what's going on in their mouth, and that we would be happy to discuss their care. And
Okay.
we would be happy to bring them in for a 15-minute consult if that's really what they need. We wouldn't be 5-minute consult. We wouldn't be.
No, 5.
It's just a conversation if they really.
Yeah. Is that like a meet and greet type of thing? I love that. Okay. Is that so? Yeah, that's how y'all answer it, right? If how much is? Okay. Do you get pushback on that? Yeah. I just want to know because it's easy to quote that. So, the way that I handle that question is I have to educate the patient, right? So, when you called, you asked how much a crown was. So, I want to explain to you how we come up with that in our office, how we set that fee in our office. There's 3 things that go into our fees. The first one is the experience of the doctor. So my doctor, when I'm talking to them, my doctor does hundreds of crowns a year. You could call him an expert. So he's been doing this for a long time. He's got a very high level of skill. Second thing that goes into it is the materials that are used. There's so many different kinds of materials. My office uses one material, okay? But there are options, are there not? There's gold, somebody wanted it. There's PFM. I mean, there's all different kinds of things. We only use a 2740, but that doesn't mean there's not other options. So there's all different kinds of materials. And it really depends on where the crown is, your bite. I mean, oh my gosh, there's so many factors that go into that. So that's something that the doctor has to make that decision. You and he decide together what is going to be best for your situation. The third thing that goes into that are the labs that we use. Now, we use only local labs, and we send everything to them to be custom made. They send that back to us. So with all that factoring in and being said, it's really hard to quote you a price. I don't know what you need. That's something you and the doctor sit down and discuss. Doesn't that make sense? That's a yes question, right? Doesn't that make sense? Well, yeah. But I just wanted to know, there's just too many factors, like what you said. I would love to bring you in and have you meet the doctor. We can schedule it that we can take an x-ray if you'd like. We can take a photo. The doctor will sit down with you and discuss all of the different options and let you know exactly what this is going to cost you, if that's what you actually need. Because I don't know. I always say, I'm not clinical. I don't know exactly what you need, and I don't want to misquote you. I'm very clinical, and I could probably deduce it, but he doesn't need to know that. I don't need to get into that on the phone because I'm not going to tell them. So I didn't give him any no's, right? This is what goes into this fee. Because that's what goes into it, I can't quote it for you, but I also built value, right? If they push, how many times can they push and get a quote from you? Mine's 3. About 3? Okay. If they're just adamant, you know, it's really hard to give you, but I understand you want to know. I have to ask, is there any insurance involved? Because that makes a difference, right? If they're Delta and we take Delta, it's going to be Delta fee no matter where they go. So, but worst case scenario, I give them the high end of the fee. I don't give a range, because if we give a range, what do they remember? Bottom. Well, they said it was going to be this much. So I always say it could, the worst case scenario is this. So I've given them a build up and a crown and all this, you know, everything. So that would be the worst case. Wow, that's a lot. I understand that. We are definitely not the cheapest in town, but we do the best work. I know that you would be well taken care of here. And that's what I tell them. Do I have people that hang up? Yes, I do. And what do? They call the next name on the list, right? What questions do they ask that other office now?
How much do you charge for a crown?
How much do you charge? And when the office says $14.83, what are they, because they're asking questions, right? They have control of the call. What are they saying? How many of these does your doctor do every year? Do you use local labs? I don't know. How many does your doctor do? I don't know. What kind of materials do you use? I don't know. All of a sudden, my fee doesn't sound so bad because I was able to build the value for my fee. I was able to explain to them why it was the cost that it was. And now they saw the value. They don't know, I think most of the people around us use local labs, but they don't know that. They don't know if it's being sent out overseas. And we say that too sometimes. We'll be like, we only use local labs. We don't send anything out overseas to be put into your mouth. And so do you send stuff overseas? And the person at the front desk was like, I don't know. So because I educated them, it works in our benefit. A lot of times those people will call back. Do we send overseas? I don't think you do. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of labs send them to China. Oh, absolutely.
I know who we sent to, and I just,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a little surprised at the overseas.
Oh, yeah.
They have places in Florida, I would say they're sending it to Florida.
Yeah.
They're sending it off.
They're turning around and sending it off to China, and it gets sent back. Oh, yeah. That happens more than you think.
Don't we have enough overseas issues with insurance companies?
The rooster, have y'all gotten the rooster? Everybody loves
That's a
that.
whole nother,
Yeah, that's a whole day in itself. So,
they don't say overseas anymore, now they say offshore.
or outsourced. That's my favorite. Oh yeah, we're outsourced. No, that wasn't what I asked. Where are you? Offshore. Are you on
They
a,
call it offshore.
are you on a boat out in the Gulf? I mean, yeah.
And that's one of our offshore, customer service areas you reached.
Yeah.
And like April said, it was someone with a chicken in the background.
There's chickens in the background, every call.
MetLife is horrible about that. They've got the chickens and the roosters in the background.
Okay, to be fair, they could also be insurance.
You can't make this stuff up. It happens. It's crazy. So we need to know as an office what kind of calls we get so that we can determine how do we answer these calls, because we should all be answering these calls the same way. How much is? Well, let me tell you what goes into setting our fees. You know, it's because you're telling them, instead of saying, it's really hard to quote that, that almost sounds, and I know it's not because I work in a dental office, right? But it sounds like a bait and switch, doesn't it? Well, we really need you to come in to be able to tell you how much it's going to be. It sounds like we want to get you in the door. So if you're giving the benefit to them, look, this is what goes into it, and it's very complicated. So, you know, now that you know how we do that, it's really hard for me to tell because there's so many variables. that you and the doctor are going to decide. You guys are going to be the ones. Yes?
In Trenton, we get a lot of, how much is it to pull tooth?
For the extraction.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, I'll say over the phone, because the dentist is gonna need to evaluate that. We need to see, is it something that can come out easily that we can actually do?
Mhm.
Is it something we're gonna have to surgically remove? Can we do it at all here? Do we have to refer you?
There's a lot
Is
of
there an
types of
active
extraction.
infection? Like,
Mhm.
I try to give them that whole list of, okay, yeah, but.
Yeah, but
$75.
well, why didn't you start out with that? You know?
Or it's
But-
someone who was told, diagnosed somewhere else, you need that tooth out.
Yeah.
And now they're gonna call around and
Yeah,
say,
but I
"This
know
is
I need
extraction."
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know I need an extraction.
Yeah.
I know I need it.
Yeah.
But I don't need it.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. That's people. We don't know where they're getting their information. Again, were they told? And now they're calling around. I'm going to get the cheapest price because they think cheapest means I don't know what. It doesn't even mean the best. So what does it mean? I don't know. Or are they just trying to figure out because somebody they knew had the same situation? My tooth hurts. I want it out. Well, it's more than just taking that tooth out, right? We've got to talk about replacement. And here's why. But exactly, you're giving them, there's so many variables that go into that. It makes it impossible for me to be able to give you an estimate. I wouldn't say I can't give it over the phone because I've used a no, right? There's so many variables that go into that, it makes it very difficult for me to do that. There are variables such as, and I would name 3 or 4 of them, we believe that it's best for you and the doctor to sit down and determine what your need is and what is the best course of treatment. Wouldn't you agree? Because as soon as they say yes, you're going to be able to get them scheduled. So why don't I get you scheduled to come in and meet with the doctor and his assistant, and we can get this taken care of and give you an exact estimate. So it's pretty much anything they want to know. We're taking that and we're building the value. We're showing them how we do things. It's giving them the opportunity. If they called and said, what's another one that you guys get? Are you open on the weekends? Right? No, we don't have Saturday hours, or no, we're not here. I would say at this time, we see patients Monday through Thursday. Well, do you not work on the weekends? At this time, we see patients Monday through Thursday. I haven't said no. I'm telling you when we see patients. Doctor sees patients Monday through Thursday. Okay?
You could also show that our doctors are available for emergency calls, and I don't know if we should throw in, it's a $125 fee to come in for an emergency. No?
I wouldn't even because they'll be calling.
Please tell me it's not $150.
Stop!
He's good to go.
Make sure it's his number on there. Now you know why you're getting so many calls. It's crazy what people, they want you to come in on the weekends because they didn't want to take off work, right?
Right, yeah.
There was no value for them.
It's the truck drivers.
Yeah. Are they, and I don't mean, I'm not judging, I'm just asking, are they illegal or illegal?
I think they're legal.
Oh, okay.
don't
Well, they
wanna
can't take off,
leave.
yeah. They'll get fired if they do. Yes.
Do you give them a time? Like, you're telling them Monday through Thursday, do you give them the times? Because
I could.
our hours at Hickson, to accommodate the people who don't want to miss time, we actually see patients at 7 in the morning. 2 days a week, yeah. 2 days a week, which gives the opportunity to those that don't want to miss time, get in before work.
Yeah. So you could say at this time we see patients, Monday through Thursday. On Mondays we're here, or we see patients Monday through Thursday. We even have early hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever it is. We're here at 7. What would 7 work for you? Is that a good appointment time? So now I'm starting to narrow down, but now if they have a question, they're going to go back to it. They're not going to say, yes, 7's good. They're going to say, well, but what if? So it's getting those objections and questions taken care of while you're setting your office limits and boundaries without saying anything negative. If people ask, What are other questions that you get?
We all do dentures.
That's it, that's the first step.
I love do dentures. Do you do dentures? I don't quite know what you're asking, but so how do you answer that? Do you do dentures?
We absolutely do. Yeah.
Small, medium, or large?
I've got some used ones in the back. Do you want me to price those out? I don't know.
Have you already had all of your teeth extracted? Or are we
Oh yeah, there's so much. So do you guys do dentures? Yes, we love our denture patients. Share with me a little bit about where you are in your journey. That's what I would ask, because are they just now getting prices? Are they, I had all my teeth pulled and I didn't like the guy, so I need denture. There's so many different things, and then that gives you the opportunity to build value. Well, let me explain how we fabricate dentures in our office. So the patient, if you're a new patient, you would come in and meet with the doctor. We would take all the necessary x-rays, and you just kind of go through. It's about 5 appointments. It spans over about 2.5 months. And so what you're doing is you're setting expectations. So A, you've kept in control of the call. B, you've answered all their questions, which makes it easier for you to get them to an appointment. And B, you've given them information about how you do things. So if they don't, so how much is it? Well, just with all the variables, the different materials, the different, the skill level, the labs and everything, I would love to have you come in and meet the doctor, and you guys can discuss what would be the best options for you. How does that sound? So you still haven't given them the price, but you answered a lot of questions. And if they say, well, I'll call you back, now we get into that game of, so do you guys do dentures? How long does it take? And they start asking all these questions, and all of a sudden you look really good because you gave all that information up front.
Usually a response that I get when I say it's over the course of 4 or 5 appointments, maybe 2.5 months, they're like, whoa, I gotta be without teeth for that long. Yep. That's when I actually take the opportunity to go ahead and start a report for the dentist.
Mm-hmm.
And he does not scramble on his work. He takes it very seriously.
You're selling the sizzle. Yep.
He wants to make sure that it's the best possible quality and that you're going to be happy with it when you leave.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be satisfied.
And usually they're not going to be without teeth that long. They don't understand that because they don't know how the process works. So it's an awesome opportunity to educate and build that rapport and build that sizzle for your dentist. You're edifying your dentist. This is why you should come to us. My gosh, we do dentures a lot. We do a lot of dentures. This is our process, and this is what it means for you. So instead of I can't give you a price, or instead of telling somebody we don't take or we don't have, my favorite is when you start talking about times, they'll say, do you have anything like tomorrow? Like, do you have anything tomorrow afternoon for an emergency? If we don't, what's the first thing we say? No, right?
I say actually my first available.
Right.
I love it. Perfect. I learned this from my daughter's, she's a hairstylist in their salon. My favorite verbiage in the world. We're currently fully committed on that day. Our next available, but like you said, our next available is. People don't question it at all. We're committed, okay.
Yeah, I'll say actually my first available is, but if we happen to have an opportunity come up sooner, I'd be happy to give it. Then we can mark our little.
Mark your little, yep, soon as possible, and give them a call. So as long as we're understanding what they really want, we're listening to their question, okay? And then we're answering the question, we're not using negatives, we're building the value at every opportunity that we get. Sometimes it does take a while. A new patient call can be a little bit long, but that's okay. We're building rapport right now. When they come in, you're going to be excited to see them because you had this conversation with them. They're going to come in and be excited to see you. Oh, you're the one I talked to on the phone, because you really helped them out. Every place else, it truly, I know around you guys, it's very transactional. I need to make an appointment. Can I get your name? Can I get your phone number? What do we need to see you for? When I was asked that question, I was like, I don't know. It's been a while since I've been to the dentist. Oh, okay. Well, we need to get you in for a cleaning. Not, do you have any issues?
Right.
No, they diagnosed me. Okay, great. I'm getting a cleaning. But because they don't care. It's someone sitting up front and they're like, my job is to answer the phone and I got to put patients in the schedule. They don't care. So your patients know you care. Show them you care every interaction you get. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. We always ask positive, open-ended questions. Yes and no questions are an opportunity to not give you information and an opportunity to shut you down. Okay? And that's where, if I have this in front of me, I'm writing all over it. My sheets are filled front and back with notes because I'm writing everything they tell me about everything they tell me. And I'll tell them, hang on, I'm taking notes. Slow down. Okay, what did you say? Because I want to make sure that I get it before I move out of that rapport stage. I want to get everything that they told me, and then I summarize what they told me.
So if they say I haven't been to the dentist in 20 years, say, okay, well, are you having any issues, specific issues at this time, or do you just want to, you're ready to establish care? Is that?
To me, it's not a bad question, not at all. But to me, it's a leading question. You know, which do you want to do? Oh, I haven't been to the dentist in 20 years. Okay, I want to know what kept them away before. So, oh my gosh, can you share with me your last dental experience? I want to know what happened. Because something happened that kept them away. They weren't that busy, right? They just weren't.
Well, and I got one that she said, I decided I was retiring, I had really good dental insurance, I did all of my work and retired, and I haven't been back.
Probably not your ideal patient. Yeah. Probably not your ideal patient because she thinks that you do the dentistry one time and it's done forever. You know, that's an opportunity to educate. So share with me about your last dental visit. I want to know what happened. And I think the doctor needs to know what happened. People will tell you why they left a doctor's office. They'll be happy to share with you. And you guys need to know that. Was it billing issues? Did they not like the doctor? Was the hygienist rude? What was it? And then you can always say, I'm sorry that happened to you. Can you give me a little more information about that? I want to make sure we don't do that. You know, I don't want that to happen to you here. Tell me more. And they'll tell you. They'll give you all the information. So then you can come with, okay, so, you know, I understand it's been a while since you've been in. Do you have specific concerns that we can address? Well, and if I stop, no, I know I need some work done, but I probably need to get a cleaning done as well. So then I'll tell them when I schedule them, I'm scheduling them on the hygiene schedule. If anything comes up and you have issues beforehand, please reach out and I'll be happy to get, you know, the doctor can see you sooner than we can get you scheduled with our hygienist. And I then edify the hygienist and talk about how awesome they are and, you know, which one they're seeing. And I give them some little sizzle about the hygienist because I want to keep them coming in. I want to keep them on the schedule and showing up for that appointment. So yeah, you're right on track. Just, yeah, share with me why you're coming in now. Why now? Why call today? Because something prompted that. Okay?
Do you take online appointments at your office, and how do you handle those kinds of things?
Appointment request online through
We do actual new patient appointments can schedule, and actual hygiene recare can schedule. But like, are you talking like a form that comes through? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we get them from time to time. We just call the patient. We take the information that we can off that form. Because normally when you call them back, they don't answer. And you leave a message, and then you email them, and nothing happens, and then you never hear from them again. So you have to have expectations on your form, is what we found. Our form states that somebody will get back to you by the end of the next business day. So they know someone's going to be calling. We will be calling you, so they know. We get the forms. They have to, if we get one, we have to do it by that day, by the end of the day. So we get that back to them. But we just document and leave a message. If we have new patients schedule online, which we do, we then immediately get notified and we call and we go through this with them on the phone. It's just like they called the office to make a new patient new patient visit, but they've already gotten scheduled, but we just now we build rapport. We go through all of this with them, and we take care of all of that.
And if you can't reach them, their appointment comes off the schedule.
Well, yeah, that's one of the expectations, is it says when you schedule this, the office will be reaching out. If they are unable to reach you within the next 24 hours, we will remove the appointment. Please call back for another appointment, because we don't have time to keep it on there. We just can't. It's too costly. It's 2 hours. That's a long appointment. So, yeah. So, did that answer your question about the online? Okay. I'll let patients make appointments and get to us any way they can. But for every avenue you have to have a system set up. A system is just a way to be not people dependent, to be dependent on the system so that anybody can do the system. Anybody can follow the system. But if you have one person that does it and nothing is written down, what if they're out? You don't know how to do that. You don't know what, well, I don't know what they do. So that's why we write everything down. If you do it more than twice, it needs a system. Okay? Okay, so this is the point where we're asking these questions, we're selling the sizzle, we're building the rapport. This is where we don't want to put the patient on hold, any point during this call. Once we get to the bottom of what they wanted, why they wanted it, and we've answered their questions with some value, let me explain how we price that, let me explain how your insurance works, whatever that may be, now we can get to where we're asking, I would like to get you scheduled, or let's go ahead and get you scheduled, or are you ready to move forward to schedule? I listen to hundreds of calls every month. I'd say I probably listen to 200 to 300 calls a month. I score calls. I'm amazed at the number of people on a new patient call that don't ask for the appointment. There's just this silence. It's kind of like, well, I told you everything. What do you want to do now? And it's hard to listen to. I'm listening going, oh my God, somebody say something. So don't forget to ask for the appointment. I'd love to get you scheduled to come in and meet the doctor. How does that sound? So then you can move into your scheduling part. But if they still have questions, well, but I was wondering first, okay. We go back into that little cycle, question, objection. And once that's done, they'll schedule and they'll probably keep the appointment because you've answered all their questions, right? Okay, so when you're getting them, you found out, you took their need and you brought it back into play. You built rapport, you talked about that, you told them, how wonderful the doctor is and how talented they are, or how the hygienist is talented or whatever. They need to know that you can help them. It is a silly little thing to say, but you don't understand the impact it has on people when you say, you've called the right place. That is, it is so small. At some point during the first part of the call, you've called the right place. Your people that are fearful, these people will now immediately exhale and be like, I found them. I found someone who can help me. It doesn't make sense, but people want to believe that someone else is going to handle something for them. They got this. They're going to take care of this. Okay? So that's where you can have, we talked about these sizzle points we had on the doctor. I actually like to have them for each hygienist, each doctor in the practice, and then the practice in general. Because everybody has a different need when they're calling, and everybody needs their need to be met with some sort of sizzle. You called the right place. You are going to love Heather, the hygienist I have you scheduled with, because I'm talking to a mom that has 3 kids, and I can say, Heather's a mom too, and she loves when children are in her chair. It makes her day. Because she does. She's crazy. But she does. She sees all the kids. But I have just reassured this mom that she's got the right person. And to a mom, that's huge, isn't it? You're going to take care of my child. So if we have a little sizzle, mom may say, well, I'd like to schedule, but I have to see, I'm so busy at work, I have to see, when I have to look at my schedule and see when I can make it in. I've got office sizzle. Well, we do have complimentary Wi-Fi while you're here, so you're able to work while your child's being seen or while Susie's being seen. Would that help you? Because my office sizzles are, we have Wi-Fi, we have snacks and drinks for when they come in. We have a room. We took our consult room and we did a new one. So our consult room is actually like a private room if somebody needs to make a work call or something while somebody's there. We've got the space to do it. And so because I know these things and they're laminated next to our phone, I don't have to remember them. But we can say, well, we do have complimentary Wi-Fi for you to use while you're here. And a lot of times they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, that would work then, because I can still work while I'm there. A lot of people work from home now, so Wi-Fi is huge. I don't know if is that here? Everybody does that here too? Okay, yeah. So Wi-Fi is huge. If they can work while they're there, they're golden, okay? Any questions on that? Any question on building the rapport? No? We're good? Okay. It is 1:48. We're going to take 12 minutes. Okay? No, because we're getting there. We got a lot to cover with getting the appointment. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to stretch, get some water. We'll be ready at 2.